So one of the most typical ways to hold a part in a milling machine is using a machine vise. This is not the only way. There's many other options, but this is the one that we're going to be using predominantly in the class. Okay. So the first thing that we want to do in this particular case is we want to actually get the part not sitting all the way down here, because if we drill, we're going to drill right into our vise, but rather sitting up a little bit. Okay. But we also need to keep in mind that we want to have it as much in the vise as possible, okay, to achieve what our goal is, all right, without having it sticking up, okay? So the farther in it is great, and we have clearance in the bottom here to be able to have the drill come through. So this is the best case scenario as far as this goes, because I get the most clamping force clamping the part. And how I do that is this right here is a parallel. You can find them in the front of the shop. They come in sets, okay, to make sure that the sets are equal, and then we can set those in there just like this, and with the nut on the back side of the vise, we can run it in. This is a very similar situation, just a much more robust and accurate vise than we saw back there on the drill press. Okay, so I'm going to get it close, and I'm going to kind of get it right there to where I can work with it, and I'm going to hold down with my fingers, make sure these parallels are straight, like this, straight up and down up against the jaws, and then I'm going to hold my finger down and kind of snug it with my finger, and then I'm going to use the handle to apply some pressure, and then I'm going to use this hammer to kind of beat down on that. And what that does is it taps it all the way down as far as it's going to go, and those things, these parallels shouldn't move. Okay, so with that, what I'm going to end up doing is going ahead and pick up this part. But for the purposes of this, I'm going to go ahead and remove this just slightly, okay? I'm going to readjust this slightly so that you get a better look at what's happening with the process of the edge finding, okay? So we've clamped it down again. I've hit this to make sure that my parallel's not moving. And now we're going to go ahead and drive ourselves over to pick this part up. Okay, so I'm somewhat close right now, and the first thing you're going to notice is this tip actually moves. All right, you can see how it offsets. Now, usually this would be something like a disadvantage, but this is how we're actually going to know if we're lining up with the very edge, this edge against this edge. And I know that this is 200 thousandths, so if I take the radius, I know that the center of my spindle, once this is exactly where it's supposed to be, is going to be exactly 100 thousandths away. So that's what we're going to be doing right now, is touching that off. So we're going to turn the machine on, and we're going to bring the quill down. We don't want to bring the quill down too much. We usually want to use the knee, but for the sake of this, we're going to check it out. We want to make sure that we're on very slow movement and on the Y, and we're going to just bring this over very, very slowly. Notice how this thing is wobbling. It's not concentric with this shaft. We're going to notice how it's starting to get a little bit more concentric with that, and it's almost perfect. And so we're moving very, very, very slow, and now we have it offset, so we can back up and do it again. And I actually have that thing offset a little bit. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, since I'm looking at my Y-axis, I'm going to go Y, absolute set. I've already set that, and I can back off a little bit, take this up, bring it over 100 thousandths exactly, and then I can reset. And now if you're actually looking at this, you can notice that the center of this part or the center of this tool is exactly at the edge of that part. So let's repeat the process for the X. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to run this down a little bit so I get a tooltip engagement, and then what I'll do is I'll kind of flick this thing. Kind of was a little bit rough with it, but I'm going to flick it to get it kind of wobbling for me, and I can watch as it starts to get the wobble out and become more concentric with the shaft. And then I'm going to just very, very, very slowly crank it in, and you can see the offset there very well. So back up, and I'm going to just get it to offset. And you can see the offset right there, so that's an X ab set. Back it out of the way, pick it up, and I'm going to go in exactly 100 thousandths. And X set again. And now if I go from X and Y to 0, I'm going to be perfectly located right at the top corner of that part. All right, so now that I've clamped my part into place, and I've done what's called pick up the part, so I know exactly where it is in relationship to my screen here. Now I can go ahead and start doing some of the other drill features.